Okay, facilities meeting, happy new year. Where is it? 8th, 5:30, here we go. From everybody, Tony Rivera is not here, so we're just gonna walk through the agenda. Pete, I want to just give a brief update on Skylight and the people you got coming in and how do you feel about it? I take it they've been here, right?
They have not been here for this issue yet. So we are subcontracting with Midstate Industries, MSI. They were brought on board by BRM Architects who came and assessed the skylight originally. They've given us a quote to do a skylight inspection and essentially a pressure test to try to identify the exact point of the leak in the skylight.
Okay.
So it's weather and temperature dependent. They can't do it if it's below freezing and they can't do it if there's precipitation. So they've let us know that on relatively short notice, when the weather and temperature cooperate, they will be here and Jason and I will do the inspection with them.
Okay. And that is a good, they're very confident that they can with a pressure test. So, find a leak in a skylight like that.
They're confident. Seems like their standard operating procedure. And I know Midstate has been to this building before, so they're familiar with how we're structured. I can speak for their confidence, but I guess we don't know until we know.
Okay. Girls decor.
So I put a few other potential ideas in there. I know, there's murals. Having a mural has been an idea that has been going around. I'm not sure when it started, but it's been an idea that we've had. I've got reservations. I think we've kind of talked it through. Art is subjective. So, depending on which artist we get, what the art looks like, it could become dated. It could become controversial if it's if we put a literary figure up there that later goes out of fashion. People might have, everyone's an art critic, so people might have feelings about the quality of the art. But I think the idea that was expressed to me is that we want to make it so that when people turn the corner and come into the library, there's something kind of drawing them into the building. So Jason, the facilities manager, and I talked about some other potential ideas. I gave the three of you on the committee the pros and cons. An idea that we've been toying with and testing is using a projector to just project something onto that wall. The pluses would be that we could change it, if we could do during winter, it could be a winter theme, during summer, it could be nature. We could put public domain art there. So it'd be very adaptable to whatever we're feeling. The downsides would be there'd be a cost for the technology. The resolution, depending on the quality of the images we're using, might not always be clear. And there would be an electrical, like a power cost to doing that, whereas a mural it's carbon neutral, So that was one idea we had to kind of.
Just wanted to check, I just set it up for in-person people.
Yes, yeah, we don't broadcast. Yep, you got it. Thanks, Tom. To go a little bit out of order, but to stick with paint as a concept, we also talked about doing an accent wall, because right now we're very beige, Gilderland's colors are blue, white, and yellow. So we could do something with blues, we could do something with yellows. Easy to maintain, easy to install, easy to understand. It's not art, it's just paint. The downside is, it's not art. So for people who are looking for something artistic, it's not the same. If we ever change our colors, if we ever rebrand, we would have to repaint the walls. And some people might just not like blue or yellow. Again, everyone's an art critic. The other idea that we had that doesn't quite address the blank space that we've been kind of focused on. We've been kind of focused on a mural at the far end to draw people in. But Jason and I did talk about increasing our green space and maybe doing plants or some sort of wall of greenery on this wall so that as people are coming in, it kind of gives them a natural, let me follow this path and it would take them right to the fish tank, you know?
I mean, at the end of the bookcases, there'd be some plant or something.
Or on this wall specifically where the study rooms are, like between the study rooms, we could do what they call vertical planting, and we could have someone install and maintain those. Again, the cons are it's not art, it's something different, and it would require some level of maintenance. But it would increase our green space,
Do we have any green space right now?
not inside the building, but we have been with the exterior really focused on making an inviting green experience. We do have the garden and the forest beyond it, which if you're on that side of the building, kind of, it's not an interior green space, but you have that nature experience.
You know, there are companies, I think, that rent out, you know, and it's sort of like a, you know, a complete lease package, and they bring it in and they take it out at the end. So it's sort of like not something you're stuck with. It's easy come, easy go.
Exactly.
Due to the cost of renting and maintaining it.
Exactly. It would be kind of akin to the fish tank, the aquarium.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would also, like the aquarium, be a good potential sponsorship opportunity to do fundraising around, you know, sponsoring the green space. An idea that I didn't put on the original email to all of you because it slipped my mind, the same way that when you walk into the library building, there's that forest scene that's taken from, I think, Thatcher Park. That's a wall vinyl, like that's a wrapping. So in theory, if we wanted to replace it, we can take it off the wall, put something else there. We could explore doing another vinyl wrapping. And that way it's not as timeless as a mural, but it would be more adaptable. We wouldn't have to paint around it. Little maintenance, I think, is 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But you know, that way, if we put up a scene and 2 years later, for some reason we had to take it down, we could just replace it with something else rather than having to paint over it. So just a few options if, you know, the groundswell of support is such that a mural or like public art is really the way we want to go. I still prefer the idea of doing like art installations.
And I'm still working with that. The high school kids are making it. The art director of the school district reached out to elementary and middle school and is trying to get some of them. We're trying to get the National Art Society that's part of Guilderland. They're going to try to get some of their art in here.
Mhm.
So we still have, so I'm still working on that. That's still.
Yeah.
Some of the high school kids, like they keep emailing me, I'm almost done. When I'm done, I'll send you a picture and you can, you know, so they're working working on it. So, but I like that idea of having the community having their, and then I put the idea out of having like the seniors display their art here, you know, so there's different avenues we're trying to go with it. So
Seniors, like senior class or
the
like-
senior class,
Okay,
yeah, like have them put their art up somewhere, you know, here, and not just at the high school.
At that
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
it almost becomes a rite of passage, like it's part of
Yeah.
being a senior.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I put the idea forth of like letting other kids, so we can cycle the art out. So letting kids display the art here for a while, and then we can get new art and put it in and display it. So we're getting like a new art, and that would enhance the library because you're getting new stuff. It's not the same. You know, so I put all these ideas forward, so we're still working on it.
When you hold
So-
meetings, what do you hold these meetings to have these discussions?
Oh, just basically email, yeah. Emailing back and forth, but, you know, but that seems to be the best way to actually get people to respond to a question or an idea, or,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, so I wanted to do that. I like the idea of the projection because when I was teaching, I used to do that for the school plays.
Mhm.
We would do the backgrounds with projections instead of having to paint it.
Mhm.
So I like that idea because that's, you don't have to paint, you just project.
Mhm. Yeah, one of our staff members came up with that idea. I think it was around the holidays because people project onto their houses.
Yeah.
And they were like, what about that? So I want to do, I call it like a sanity check. I want to see what the prices are for those projectors and see how crisp the quality is. Because if we're going to do it, I want to do it well. And I think that'll influence, the cost will factor in.
Yeah, and maybe instead of like Thatcher Park, maybe we could have one of those vinyl things from like Cowasanta Park. Or something from Guilderland, you know, or from actual
Yeah, no,
Guilderland.
exactly right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like,
You know,
that would be like.
you know, that wall down there, you know, putting a picture that's up there for a period of time, and then with the possibility of being able to change it. Because there is, you know, people have ideas on that, and, you know, whether it's a senior class thing, rite of passage on that wall back there, they pick a picture.
Mhm.
What would it would take to take a picture that's that quality and put it up there so that it's sort of like, you know, as you step in here, you're sort of like looking not just at a wall, but into the distance, into some vista
Mhm.
that, you know, sort of pulls you in, you know, that I think.
And we do have, as part of our local history collection, we have some art, not art, but like postcards and historical images in there. I don't know how well they would do with being blown up to scale. They might
Yeah,
lose quite a
I
bit of
know.
resolution.
Yeah.
But that's something like if we want to do very Gilderland specific, we do have like historical Gilderland photos. So it's.
Is there a photography club at the high school?
There is, I did ask about that. I'm like, if there's any, because one girl did send some photos. She took photos of like the pictures of the high school. So some of them are into photography. So like, that's another avenue we could, I said, if you have any photos, you can send
With
those.
the resolutions that you get
Yeah.
out of modern, camera optics, you know, I'm sure you could get something up there that, you know, somebody composed and put up there and, you know, what would it take to, you know, like that, you said it's a vinyl.
Mhm.
You know, put that like on a frame and then have a place that you could, so like hang the frame so that the thing easily comes down and has something. What's that type of,
So I would start with the company that did that vinyl
Yeah.
wall. We don't have to go with them, but
Yeah.
I could get a kind of a sense of what it costs to do that and then
Yeah.
see what the options are. And then we could price it out and look for vendors.
so the idea would be is, you know, can we as a library come up with a cost function of this? And then, you know, the various options, come up with cost functions of them and then put it out to the community to say, what do
Which you
wanna do?
prefer?
You know, what's the picture that you want here?
Mhm.
You know, and then have a mechanism that we always know what the cost is gonna be, but then it's the creativity of the community that gets pulled in time and again to come up with their statement of change.
I love that idea, and something I'd like to do this year is more surveying of our existing customers who are in the building, but also reaching out to non-patrons.
Yeah.
And just kind of do a check like that to be like, hey, what do you want to see from your library? And
Right.
being very targeted with the kinds of questions we're asking.
Right.
I think that's something we should be doing anyway, but this is certainly a question we can pose to the community and
Right.
really get a groundswell of support.
No, I think just given the shape of that wall, something that's sort of like fits in the wall space would be good. Here, yeah, those pipes, so something that's on this side and on that side, maybe a similar type of a theme, but it's like bookends, you know, there's libraries, bookends. Pictures that sort of like complement each other on a
Mhm.
theme that would go up there, but then once again, they come down over time and they get replaced by a new idea by somebody who's got some contact with something in the community, you know, some duration with the community.
The library also used to have like, when I used to come here a lot, they used to have a lot of like in the teen area, like a lot of like those read posters and all that. Where did all that go? Like when the library like got like redone, like a lot of that, like.
Your guess is as good as mine. There's a
Okay.
few of them that are in staff spaces.
Okay.
But like we uncovered something from the Library of Congress in storage the other day, like a giant postage stamp kind of design.
Yeah.
So I imagine a lot of our stuff is in storage somewhere in the building.
A lot of people, a lot of kids, like when I was in the libraries and stuff in schools, they liked like those kind of things. So like even basic things like that, just get newer stuff, like that's just an idea I had too, like,
Here's one for
you
you.
know.
When I grew up, I went to Troy Public Library. That was my library, the kids' room in there. And we used to go down there. It was like religion to go there. My brother and I sort of trying to figure out, you know, who was going to get the best scoop on the new books that they had there. But the thing that they had in that library was this picture of Gulliver, eyed down by the Lilliput. It was a big picture. You know, it would go from about there to, you know, halfway. It was big. And it was there for years and years and years. And only recently did it disappear. Basically called the Troy Public, we want your.
Yeah, we want your
your
giant
Gulliver.
poster.
We want your Gulliver poster." Where did that go?
Troy just got a new director,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, I can ask him about that.
It was really brilliant. It was like, it's just like, you know, Tim Wiles, you know, he said the fish tank, you know, it's people create an anchor point with the library of something that drew their attention every time. That's why that fish tank went in there, which is a good idea. But that Gulliver picture is, I knew exactly what he was speaking to. It was just there for just, you know.
Well, I asked for
most of my life.
sculpted fish from the art too. I want kids to like, if we can get some sculpted fish, like you said, we could put it around the aquarium, accent it. Just little things like that. I give them some ideas too, so they're trying to.
So you said,
Yeah.
you know, you got a number of, you know, your staff. It's just, you know, we show up once a month for these discussions and we come up with some pretty good ideas. But in terms of like moving this forward, what's it gonna, what do you need with your staff, or is that something you got going, or?
So we're actually putting together a decorating committee amongst our staff because we just got done with the holiday season. Decorating was huge for about 2 months. But we want to make sure everything is like on theme and cohesive, and that we have what I refer to as a design aesthetic, like that if somebody comes in and looks at what we're doing, it looks intentional. So this month, we're going to be soliciting staff volunteers, and I think they would be helpful for things like when we get art from the high school classes, rotating it out, making sure that like everyone knows kind of what we're asking for, where it's going. So for, I'm gonna call them lower level, like literally lower vertical decorations, like posters, art, sculptures, I think the decorating committee can help align that with the staff. In terms of the bookend project, which I kind of love, anything that's going high up on the walls, I would like to get pricing for the projector and kind of scope out the technical capacity. And then if it's cost prohibitive, that'll lead us down one path, but if it's reasonable, then we'll kind of know what we're working with.
I really like the plants too. I think that's another good.
We asked,
Yeah.
we asked for pricing on the green space as well.
Okay.
I really, not to put my thumb too much on the scale, I love the idea of increasing our green space.
Yeah.
I think especially in the wintertime,
Mhm.
you know, you just need something that increases the warmth.
Yep.
You know,
Especially because there's flowers in the winter. You can have those in the library. That add some pops of color. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
One of the ideas, I don't want to jump too far ahead down the agenda items, but when we talk about pop-up ideas for the Norman Skill Room and things that activate that space for a short period of time, one of the ideas we came up with was nature bathing. You know, what if we put green space in the Norman Skill Room, put like a lawn chair or a wicker chair, had nature noises playing, so that people could kind of nature bathe, you know, in the winter. I don't know if we'll be able to pull that together before, you know, spring, but you know, as a future idea, like I just think increasing opportunities for green space in winter.
now, when I was in Shanghai, there was a bar that was an igloo. So in the heat of the summer, you could go in there
Mhm.
and it was solid ice and you could get a vodka.
It's one of those ideas that people always want what they can't have immediately. So during the winter, we give them nature bathing. During the summer, we could give them like a, you know, look, you're in the North Pole, you know?
But, you know, these things from our point of view
Mhm.
come down to what's the cost of it, and then what's the community involvement in terms of making the decision. But there's tons of ideas here that we can have, and I'd just like to get, you know, moving, like we said at the beginning before you came here, nobody's complaining about, nobody's walking in here saying, you know, we gotta change, you know?
No.
You know, people are saying good things about the fish tank and the fireplace and,
Yeah.
but nobody's in here.
Yeah, like,
You know, this is not something that's urgent. And you know, the more likely, you know, the more you do something, the more you're gonna take criticism as opposed to compliments.
Yeah. I think a lot of this stuff is gonna draw people in though too. Then when they see the green space, when they see the projections, when they see the kids' art. I mean, the kids are gonna say, oh, I can bring my friend to go see their art and they'll come to the library. And like, I mean, it's just gonna get people to come here. So like,
And
so that's where
we have had a
yeah.
whole range of community art displays in the Helderberg room. And
Yep.
there's been some fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
As far as
My
the-
wife had her stuff on display. She's an artist. And she's had you know, exhibit of her stuff in there. So, I mean, there's just, if you just look back through the different exhibits that we had there, I'm sure you could easily find people that would be happy to put their stuff back up on permanent, just, no, I would never give anybody permanent, but I would say,
Yeah,
you know, here's a period of time we like to have your stuff up here for 6 months or something in this space, but there's just so many like places you could hang things. Just takes a little picture hanger to put it up there. And then same thing, it goes a mix of the high school stuff and the community stuff.
and that really aligns with the library's mission and vision, as we're talking about like making people, they learn new skills, they express themselves. It's in line with everything we already do, and then it gives them a venue. It's like a natural conclusion. Like you learned how to paint, you grew as a person, and now the library's displaying your stuff.
So,
So yeah, in terms of, I think, like you said, Bill, we're not hearing a lot of complaints. So I think anything we do at this point is a value add, like we're just kind of enhancing the experience. I think in terms of getting staff buy-in, I think we've got some, and I think we can get more. I think staff will be on board with, they're on board with the concept.
so could you maybe next meeting tell us who's on the committee and then what the meeting schedule would be and maybe, you know.
Yeah, could some of them come to a meeting and we could, hear their ideas?
Absolutely. And Jason's going to be the chair of the committee. So he's, one member that will definitely be here.
You know, or, yeah, I mean, if they have a meeting schedule, then just let us know what it would be, and if anybody's free to come by and, you know, participate in that or listen in on what the employee committee comes up with. But I just like to get this, momentum in this, in terms of like people engage and then starting to put out things on specific cost.
Mhm.
And then identifying these works that we can. Here.
By next month, we'll definitely have cost for the projector and the green space. And then if we want to do an accent wall, the cost is negligible. And vinyl as well. I think I can get a price by then. If not, an updated price, then I'll know what it cost to do the previous one.
Okay. Book sale storage. Using the Norman Skill Room. How much stuff do you have in there now that, when will the stuff that's in there now that you're trying to dispose of, any idea when that's going to be gone?
We're hoping to get it up for auction this week. So we'll be auctioning off some of our older bookcases and then the air purifiers that we used during the pandemic.
How are you structuring that?
We're going through Auctions International. It's the same company that I believe the school uses. Jason was familiar with them. He came from the schools. So I think that's the connection.
Will they be selling the cafe stuff too?
Not yet, because we hadn't committed to selling it.
Okay.
But if we do commit to selling it, then we would go through that same avenue.
Okay.
Right now, the Norman School Room is fuller than I would like. If we can get the old bookcases and the humidifiers out of there, it clears up probably 60% of the room. There's some other old computer equipment and patio furniture that was part of the cafe package, but that takes up a lot less space than the other items. At that point, then the biggest impediment would be the cafe equipment that's bolted to the ground. We'd have to kind of work around that.
In the counter.
Yep, the display counter.
There is that cutting table, the sandwich table there, and
Mhm.
so is, the big item for me is like the espresso machine. Is somebody capable of looking on eBay to see if those things are, any of that equipment, somebody's got the list here. I think the finance people have a list of specific nomenclature and going up to eBay and and just seeing, is this stuff for sale someplace? And then see what kind of price we can get on it. Off of.
Yeah, we can ballpark, because we also should have records of what we paid for it originally, and then depending on, because if,
It isn't all the cafe material in that cafe. There's a specific list of the stuff there. To me, I would just think that finance would be the people to take that on and just say, okay, here's what the going rate of that stuff would be. Um,
And then, yeah, I think so I would really like to, and I'll propose this at the full board meeting, do a book sale in April and tying it to National Library Week. I think that's a good trial because we haven't done a book sale since we reopened. The building's dimensions are a little bit different. We also haven't been accepting donations in earnest. People donate to the charities that are in the parking lot, but they're not donating to the library. So we have no idea what the pent up demand for book donation is.
I mean, the charities that are.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say charities. There's a business that we had a local business who had a book donation bin in the parking lot. So that's like if people wanted to drop off books to donate, they could put them there.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm really curious actually what the volume is going to be.
How would you publish it? How would you publish the solicitation to bring your donation books?
I honestly think it's gonna be pretty high because when you watch the bins out there, people will bring 6, 7, 8 boxes out of their car and put the books in there.
Mhm.
So I mean, those books are going to, like you said, that charity or whatever, but if they want to donate that to the library, that's like 8 boxes of books one person is bringing. So you just sit out there and watch it. It's crazy how many people come by and drop, they bring out big bins of books and stuff and they put them in those bins. So I think if we open it up where we're gonna accept that, we're gonna get quite a, because they're not gonna want to give it to the charity, they're gonna want to give it to the library. So it's gonna, we're gonna get all that traffic.
I think we are.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get overwhelmed in these situations.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll have to do a lot of soliciting to get people to donate. I think if we put it in our newsletter, our social media, and maybe if we want to tell the Altamont Enterprise and the Times Union, word will travel fast and people will start dropping it off. I would want to open our donation window. So say if we do the book sale the last week in April, I would maybe open the donation window mid-March to mid-April and accept donations, 2 days a week, Saturday and a weekday. And we would need volunteers to sort them, which we would also solicit volunteers kind of the same way. We would put something on our website, say if you're interested in volunteering, fill out this contact form, and then we would do brief interviews with the volunteers just to vet them before they came on board. I think if we had volunteers doing the sorting and we limited it to 2 days a week, people will obviously still donate in times that we're asking them not to, but staff can manage that.
I reached out to the school district about getting volunteers for the book sales, and the superintendent reached out to the principal. They have volunteer coordinators, so they're gonna see what interest there is from the students to come help with that.
Perfect.
So I already sent an email out about that to try to get some high school students here, helping with it.
How about the Library Foundation / Friends of?
Corey looked into it for me. I thought that they were separate entities because every other public library has a Friends of the Library almost. I've looked in every library I could think of. They all have a Friends, but we have a foundation. The foundation is a separate organization. They could change their name and become a Friends group, but it's a whole process and they would have to decide to do it. We can't tell them they have to do it. They would have to say, we want to become a Friends group and we want to change to that. And so Corey said that they're separate. So I thought because almost every other public library in our area had a Friends group that we should have one too, to kind of be the same because everyone else has a Friends group. But we don't, we have a foundation. So ours is different. It's a different organization than the Friends group. They do the same kind of thing, but they're a different entity. They could become a Friends group or form a Friends group or change to a Friends group, but they have to make that decision. We can't say I wanted to go in there and suggest to them, and Corey's yeah, you can't do that. You can't go in there and suggest that. They have to come to that determination.
And typically the scope of the two
Yeah.
groups is Friends groups do things like book sales and bake sales, and
Yeah.
foundations do large scale donations. So they do serve two separate purposes. In a perfect world, we would have both. It's never a good idea to ask a foundation to act like a friends group and vice versa. Like it
Yeah.
never works cleanly.
So,
The good thing about doing a solicitation for volunteers is if we want to form a friends group, volunteers who are willing to come in and work at a book sale could be a really good core for a friends group.
Yeah.
And now we'll have like kind of a, an email list of like, hey, are you interested?
yeah.
I think, so we would need two types of volunteers, and I'm actually working on job descriptions for them. Because for the donation period, we would need volunteers who are willing to accept donations and sort the books. And they would have to do things like decide if the books are sellable, if we need to recycle them, sort them into categories, and then put them in storage somewhere. Then during the book sale itself, which the longest I would want to do a book sale for is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We could do a members night Friday night, general public Saturday, Sunday could be a bag sale to just get everything out. We would then need volunteers to set up the book sale, which high school kids are, great for that because it's a lot of like bending and lifting and putting books on tables. And then we would need cashiers, people to actually check people out and make change.
Now, with like the farmer's market, I did like the book sale. Can I volunteer to help with something like that?
I would actually ask the board as part of
Okay.
this to work a
Okay.
shift and to
Okay.
help participate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
'cause
I have experience doing that in my school libraries, like we had book sales, we had, so like, I know how to do it, so.
if we want to be,
Yeah, yeah.
if we want to do this, by the book, pardon the pun, we really should have somebody either associated with the library board or a library staff member overseeing the cash transactions, just to have that accountability.
So, the decision for this board meeting is to recommend to the board that we have a sale in April.
So that recommendation will come from me. I think from this committee, the recommendation would be to use the Norman Skill Room as a staging area, as a exploratory step towards, do we need more storage? Do we need another building? I think,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Corey said like the book sales can start here too. We can like vote for all of that
Mhm.
and we can bring it to the committee, to the main meeting.
Mhm.
And then we can go from there, but we can start that part of it too.
Mhm.
Like the facilities committee, we can say like, we want to have book sales again. And we can bring it to then we bring it to the full board and then they would vote on it, after we present it. So she said the facilities committee can start it too. We can start get the process going too.
I'm happy with that as well.
Yeah. She said that's how it should start with us, the facilities, and then go to the board and then.
So we have, this is
So we can.
the January board meeting and February board meeting. What board meeting would we bring it to?
we should get this approved January, because I would like February to solicit volunteers and then March to solicit donations.
So the committee is going to vote to recommend to the board to hold a book sale in April and to use the Norman Skill Room as a trial staging area for book volume to see how that works, what type of space we need. Okay, so all in favor, say, and I say, anybody second? I've already.
You propose it.
I seconded it or.
Anybody, get all the magic words?
Any discussion, I guess?
Anybody? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
And then Corey said the same thing with like the book storage sheds. If we want to have that,
Mhm.
we could start it here in facilities and then bring it forward to the committee. If we want to have the book sales in the Norman Skill Room, say that and bring it forward to the committee, the whole board. So she said like everything basically starts here. So whatever we decide we want to do, we start it here and then move it forward and then we can.
Okay, so we just,
Because she wants it to be part of like the long range planning, she said too. So she's like, start it, get in the process, and this is gonna be part of the long range planning, but you guys can start everything and get it going. And then we'll go from there. That kind
so
of,
we just approved the
so.
book sale in
Motion
April.
passes.
It's in Norman School staging area in lieu of an outdoor shed at this point to see what type of volume we get and what the space needs would be. Okay, so 6:05.
That's my fault, sorry.
The fault of your building and their water main.
I would imagine we're talking towards the end of the sale.
Yeah, I think National Library Week is that last full week in April, so it would be week 4 of April.
Do you want me to follow up with the school about the volunteers? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And
Okay.
that way, when we have the volunteer form available on the website, they can just apply through that path.
okay. I wasn't sure who to reach out at the school. That's why I started with, I know the superintendent.
There you go.
I'll get you to the right person, okay?
Do you need any approval on the auctioning of stuff in the Norman Skill Room, or is that?
We don't need approval. We go through the, there's a policy, the disposal policy, as part of the board webpage, so we just follow that. You may, so along that thought line, I don't know if you need approval for submitting the cafe equipment, like the espresso machines, considering, how engaged everyone is with the cafe, it might not be a bad idea to just discuss that with the full board.
I think if we were actually gonna pull the trigger and start selling it, yes. To find out what the values are, I don't think so.
No.
So
That's just research.
I
Yep.
just think we need to do the research so that we can think about
Mhm.
proposing that. Then the point on weather observation, what exactly is, you say, designed to be sustainable and drain water? Is there an issue there? or-
No issues. It's something that actually came to us because we were having the parking lot swept, which is kind of a standard thing that we just do as part of maintenance. And in the course of having the contractor come in to sweep the parking lot, it was brought to my attention, I didn't know this, that we actually have to pay extra careful attention to making sure that like leaves and other organic debris are cleared out from especially the upper parking lot, because the upper parking lot is designed to drain into our stormwater management system. So there's the potential that if it's not properly maintained, it can clog. So
Where would those gather that they clog?
I don't know. We have to talk to the maintenance, the folks who do the sweeping about that. The architects brought it up as FYI, be aware of this. So I bring it to the committee just as an FYI to be like, if you ever hear me talking about water permeability in the upper parking lot, it's specially designed to drain in a specific way. That I fully don't have I've not been fully briefed on it yet, but I'll get there. But yeah, currently no issues, so that's good.
I think we're pretty much covered everything.
That's it for the agenda,
Yeah.
unless there were additional items that we wanted to talk about.
So excited about the book sale because that last board meeting where we had that one person say like, we need book sales. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, we haven't had them in so long. Like,
It's really, I keep saying this, but it's a core library service, is accepting donations and doing book sales. It's, I know if every library jumped off the bridge, I wouldn't want to jump off the bridge, but everyone does this,
especially when they can raise a lot of money too. So that's where.
It's at my old job, we used to refer to it as the community's recycling program. It's a community recycling program and a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Okay, so meeting adjourned.
You wanna, are you making a motion that we adjourn the meeting?
Not that well read on
The Robert's,
magic words.
there's only 3 of us, but yeah. So, motion?
If you ever have any questions about meetings, that's my job. I do board meetings. I'm going to New York City tomorrow, so
Okay.
I do, yeah, so I do like the minutes of the board meeting and stuff.
Oh, really? No
So when Amy does that, I'm like, I know how to do all that.
Not my thing.
I've got a whole handbook on it in my office if you ever want to do some light reading.
The Robert Rules.
Robert's Rules of Order, yep.
I have that book too, sitting right on my shelf.
That stuff's so complicated. I've seen that book in there. It's so complicated.
Mhm.
Yeah, how to manage.
But that's the hardest part, that the